Hi all, welcome to Cricket Center. Today we would be analysing the recently concluded one-day series between India and England. We'll be looking at what went right and wrong for both the teams and also try to build a bigger picture in terms of how the squads are building up for the big World Cup that's around the corner. On the face of it, India have comprehensively outplayed England in this series by a margin of 3-1. They have in effect reasserted their supremacy as the dominant one-day team in the world. Now let's look at the reasons for England's failures in this team, specifically with the batting. Now if you were to look at the face-wise batting of England in this series, the big story has been how the English batsmen have played the Indian spinners. They've not been able to get the spinners away, and that reflects in the runs per over between overs 11 to 40, which has been a paltry 3.89. They've not been able to build partnerships or rotate the strike, and in effect not been able to set a platform for some of the bigger hitters like Butler and Morgan who come later in the innings. And this shows in the runs per over between overs 41 and 50, where it's been only 6.64 because they've consistently lost wickets. Now specifically with England's problems with spin, they have lost 19 wickets to spin as opposed to only 14 wickets to pace. Now this has been a traditional problem that the English batsmen have faced, and they need to address it if they want to be consistent over a long period of time. The other thing that has played right up India's alley is the nature of the wickets. The pitches have been dry, which can be expected from the end of a really long English summer, and Dhoni has very effectively marshalled his resources and used his spinners very well, rotated them around, and has in result not let the English batsmen get away. The English top order has been unable to set a platform for some of the more free-flowing batsmen down the order, and this has clearly hurt England's chances. The numbers clearly seem to suggest that there have been very few partnerships right at the top, and this has put an inordinate amount of pressure on the middle order. And if you were to think about it, the one match in which Joe Root actually got set and went on to score a century, the other batsmen rallied around him and England was able to get a sizable total. Now let's look at a bigger picture of English batting over the last year and a half to 2 years. From January 2013 onwards, England have struggled to actually post a lot of centuries. And if you look at it, England rank only above Bangladesh in terms of the number of centuries their batsmen have put up. Now this has been a problem. England score a century only once in 4.8 games as opposed to some of the more attacking countries like South Africa and India who seem to score centuries more frequently. Now what has been the reason for this? You look at the batting lineup of England, you see a large number of 50s but very few hundreds. You look at somebody like Alistair Cook, who is the captain, who leads from the front, who bats right at the top. He's got 6 50s but no hundreds. And that seems to be a big problem, as it is the responsibility of the top order and the responsibility of Alistair Cook to play through the innings, and the other batsmen have to rally around him. So England clearly seem to have some issues with their batting. We believe that it's imperative that they make those changes before they go into the World Cup, and they have an ideal opportunity in terms of the 7-match ODI series against Sri Lanka to tinker around with their batting, to experiment with new personnel, to figure out the ideal combination for the Cricket World Cup. We believe that they have some really hard choices to make, but they would be better served for making those choices. Now coming to England's bowling in the series, it has been nothing to write home about. Anderson has been lesser of a factor with the white ball than he has been in the test series. Unfortunately for him, his batsmen have not really put the runs on the board, so there has not been any scoreboard pressure on the Indian batsmen and they've played freely. And the pitches have also not been very conducive to seam and swing bowling. The other big factor has been the absence of Stuart Broad. Stuart Broad has the ability to pick up wickets right up front, and if you see from January 2013 onwards, he's picked up 20 wickets, out of which 50% were the top order batsmen. So he has the ability to price out wickets right at the top and break partnerships, and they missed that ability of his. Now coming to some of the choices that the England selectors will have to make in the future, particularly with the World Cup, there are a few positions where they have choices of personnel, and one of those choices is if they have a situation where they have to play between Ben Stokes and Chris Woakes, who should they choose? Now purely on their bowling ability, Ben Stokes is somebody who can be steady in the middle of the innings, whereas Chris Woakes, as the numbers seem to suggest, he is somebody who can bowl with the new ball And he also seems to be a better bowler at the death than Ben Stokes. And that can particularly be effective because England currently don't have a designated death bowler. Anderson and Broad are not really effective or don't really enjoy bowling at the death, and Wokes can be one of those guys who can actually bowl consistently at the death. But when it comes to their batting, it's a different kettle of fish, and there are opinions that Stokes might be a better batsman than Wokes, so it will be an interesting call to make. The other choice that they need to make is between Moeen Ali and James Treadwell. Now, Moeen Ali outperformed James Treadwell in the one match that they played together. They are different styles of bowling. Moeen Ali bowls quicker. He does not give the batsman time to come down the track and actually loft him. And given the conditions in Australia where they will not turn as much, he can be a good defensive option. Whereas Treadwell is more of a wily bowler, varies his pace, and there is no real mystery to his bowling. So do they actually have to waste that one slot where they actually have an off spinner who is as good as him in Moeen Ali? We believe that England would be better served if they look at other options. And one of the options that we feel strongly about is Adil Rashid. Adil Rashid, the leg spinner, has actually played for England in the past, and he has had a very, very good county season in this current year. He's actually picked up 25 wickets. He provides that leg spinning wicket taking option, and his strike rate has been phenomenal, and it's been close to 23. Now, we believe that the leg spinner can give you an attacking option in Australia to help pick up wickets, and his variations can come in very, very handy. And especially in those big grounds in Australia, there is a chance that the batsmen come down the track and hole out in the deep. So Adil Rashid should be on that plane to Sri Lanka, and if he does well there, there is a real good chance that England will have a wicket taking option in their midst for the World Cup.